Today, we're going to unpack a bold claim from a tech guru, George Gilder, about a supposed 400x stock in regenerative medicine. But stick around because we've got a lot more than just that to cover.
What is blockchain? Make me understand that, George.
Blockchain is a new architecture, new security architecture for the internet.
I will also give you some glimpses into how our teaching portfolio is up and absolutely crushing 80% so far this year. And I'm very excited to share more about that with you on our forthcoming free 2-day beginner live trading challenge. So come and join me at felixprehn.org/challenge. Link is down below. But let's get back to good old George's 400x stock. George is a bit of a tech prophet himself, and he's made waves with claims about small biotech stocks. In this case, one that could apparently explode 400x thanks to breakthroughs in regenerative medicine, whatever that means. Now, you're probably thinking, Felix, is this legit? Is this just another pump and dump? Well, that's exactly what we're here to find out. Always be open to new ideas, but be skeptical at the same time. So let's break down what regenerative medicine actually is. It's a cutting-edge field that aims to repair or replace damaged tissues and organs using the body's own healing processes. So we're talking about stem cells, tissue engineering, and gene therapy, the sort of stuff of sci-fi movies, except it's actually happening right now in labs across the globe. According to their investor presentation, this company that I'm about to name in just a second, the global cell and gene therapies market is expected to reach a staggering 78 billion by 2032, which is some serious potential. There are thousands of clinical trials underway in this field, and it's clear that cell and gene therapies are not just the future, they're actually already here. Gilder claims that the company he's recommending has found a way to standardize and make these treatments affordable on a global scale. He's comparing it to what Henry Ford did for cars. Fairly bold claim, but that's what makes it a little bit more interesting. And there's some truth in that. I have some friends who had a business in this sector, and well, the fees were fairly extraordinary. So this was sort of, the super rich are already doing these treatments, but they're not available yet to the unwashed masses of you and me. And Winston. Winston doesn't get washed very often. According to Gilder, the current methods big pharma use to produce regenerative medicines are slow, costly, and painful. But this mystery company here has apparently cracked the code with mobile labs that can be transported by truck. They're supposedly creating treatments for a wide range of health issues. Now, I know you're all dying to know what the name of the stock is. Well, my furry research assistant, Winston, has been sniffing out the details, and after some intense digging around and a few scratches behind the ears, he has cracked the code. The company that Gilder is pitching is Orgenesis. Ticker symbol ORGS. And before you rush off and pull up the stock chart, it looks pretty miserable. So don't just put all your money into it quite yet, okay? Let's dig a bit deeper into what this company actually does and whether it lives up to the hype. Orgenesis is a biotech company specializing in cell and gene therapies. Their big innovation is something called the point of care platform, or POCare for short. Basically, they're trying to produce these complex therapies locally near the patient using automated systems. And the idea is to cut costs and solve logistical nightmares that come with traditional centralized manufacturing, where you basically have to get some tissue from the patient, transport it as quickly as possible to a lab, and it's all very, very complicated and hard to do. They operate through two main segments. One is Octomera, which provides services. Sounds a bit like a fish, doesn't it? Anyway, they provide services and tech for decentralized therapy production and therapies, which develop specific cell and gene treatments for various diseases. Now, let's look at some of the reasons why Orgenesis might be a good investment, and then we'll also look at the flip side. So they got this innovative POCare platform. Developed a three-pronged approach. Again, reminds me of fish. With their platform, one is POCare therapies, a pipeline of in-house licensed therapies. POCare tech, which is a closed automated process that's apparently validated and ready for scalability. And then we got the PO Care Network, a collaborative network of hospitals and healthcare providers worldwide. They got some pretty big names on that list, in fairness. And then they've got the Orgenesis Mobile Processing Units and Labs. There is an acronym for this too. It's called UMPULS. What is it with acronyms? Well, they're just useless, aren't they? Like, no one's going to remember OMPULS. You've probably already forgotten the ticker symbol, right? So anyway, these labs are designed to shorten the implementation time of new capacity from 1.5 to 2 years to just 3 to 6 months. So even more impressive than that claim, though, is that they claim to potentially reduce the cost of processing cells to about 1/3 of the current cost, where you take the cells, you send it somewhere, and they charge you an arm and 4 legs because they grow you 2 more, and send you a pretty hefty bill. They do have a partnership network. They're working with leading clinical centers like Johns Hopkins, UC Davis, Bambino, Gesù Children's Hospital, and other places. And the one thing I find particularly exciting, actually, is the pipeline. And maybe we can put that on the screen here. Editor, please. You can see the pipelines for various diseases like cancers, diabetes, blood disorders, and others. And for some, they are pretty far down the road of the kind of spectrum. Now, one key therapy to watch is their, I'm going to try to pronounce this, autologous insulin-producing AIP. Thankfully, finally, an abbreviation that is useful. It's basically a treatment for type 1 diabetes. And they teamed up also with Germ-Free. It's a leader in modular clean room infrastructure, which is very important, clean rooms for all sorts of applications. And that could help them, get their mobile processing units to market faster. And they have secured about $50 million in government grants and from regional partners. And that's a nice chunk of change to fund research and development. But we'll get onto the money side just in a second. Because it isn't all sunshine and potential here. There are some serious risks to consider. Okay, revenue. Well, it's taken a bit of a nosedive recently. We're talking about a 98% decrease in Q1. That's not really great. And the stock is, you could say it's volatile. I think that'll be polite. It's basically a falling knife that's sliced off more limbs than they can regrow quickly. So not great on the stock chart. But you see, these early stage companies, I always wonder why they actually list. Yes, they get a little bit of money at the beginning, but until you have a product that you're bringing to market and you can show some revenue. So if you're just in that research phase, the stock market is pretty much always going to hate you, because the analysts are like, what's your revenue? And you're like, 0. How much money are you making? We're losing tons. Okay, how much cash have you got? Less every day. It's just not something that your spreadsheet-loving stock analyst on Wall Street is going to understand, because he doesn't have a PhD in gene therapy. Nor do I, by the way. So we struggle with it, right? As you can see. Now, what's the other risk? Well, they've got some dependence on partnerships and grants. A lot of their success really rides on continued support from partners and funding. And there is a lot of competition out there. The cell and gene therapy market is heating up. Big pharma and other biotechs are all basically vying for the same piece of that delicious pie. And then you got regulatory stuff. I did a bit of a Google on this. There's lots of stuff by the European Union about, they hate stem cells and they're just against most advancements. But there is obviously an ethical issue here, religious reasons, and in all sorts. Should we be creating cells? Where do we draw the line, right? So getting new therapies approved, it is a pretty long and complex and expensive process, and any hiccups could seriously impact their timelines and therefore bottom line. Now, let's put on our valuation hats here and try to crunch some numbers. So compared to industry peers, we could argue that Orgenesis should be worth about $230 million. But they have actually been buying back shares for the past few months, which is sort of weird. And that's unusual, especially for a company that isn't yet really profitable yet. But really, I guess my point is biotech investing isn't for the faint of heart. High risk, potentially high rewards. You could strike gold or you could lose your shirt. So you're going to want to put a really, really small shirt on this if you so want to, like a doll's house shirt. So what's really our verdict here? Well, Orgenesis 400x claim that Gilder makes, 400x is a pretty astronomical return, extremely rare. And while they do have some promising tech and partnerships, they're also facing some significant challenges. They're going to run out of money unless they raise some more. So my take is it's an interesting speculative play. I think biotech's done quite well actually the last couple of months. It probably will do quite well as interest rates come down. But it is for people with a very, very high risk tolerance, a pretty long-term horizon. It can take years to get these treatments off the ground and approved. And yes, their decentralized approach to cell and gene therapy could be a game changer, but it's far from a sure thing. So I wouldn't bet the farm on it. And if you do decide to invest, make sure A, you do your own research, and B, it only is a very, 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 very small part of a very well diversified portfolio. Did I say very often enough in that sentence? And as always, look, before making any decisions, do some serious research, sleep on it, talk to your golden retriever about it, or your other half. And before we wrap up here, let me remind you about our live trading challenge. It's completely free. It's for beginners. It's coming up this week, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we're up 80% this year on our teaching portfolio. We aim to do more. Whether we will or not is always, in the stars, but we did pretty decently the last 2 years as well. And my whole mission here is to just help more people get to financial freedom the way I did and share that with you, share the knowledge with you, because financial education is a scandal. I mean, it doesn't exist really. But yeah, head over to felixprehn.org/challenge, grab yourself a spot, and that's all for today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to smash the various buttons. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you want to make a real commitment, or let me know what you make of Orgenesis even down below. And until next time, Felix here. Of course, great to see Tom Lee bullish on the market, although he seems to be always bullish on the market, doesn't he? But there is actually something to that, but there is more to what he just explained. Before I really explain to you what Wall Street doesn't want you to know, I'm also running for the first time ever a 2-day live beginner training